Hi everyone. Our topic today is emerging imaging technologies in forensic medicine, legal and ethical implications. Basically, we are looking at how modern imaging tools like CT scans, MRIs, 3D reconstruction, and even AI are being used in forensic medicine. These tools are helping experts collect and analyze evidence more accurately and in a non-invasive way, which is a big shift from the traditional autopsy method. But at the same time, they raise some really interesting questions, especially around ethics and laws like privacy, consent, and how this digital evidence is used in court. I'm Sindhuja Madanayaka, and I'll be going through the introduction part, giving a quick overview of what forensic imaging is, the technologies involved, and why it is so important today. Next slide, please. So, first, what exactly is forensic imaging? It is when medical imaging technologies like CT or MRI scans are used to help in criminal investigations and legal cases. Instead of doing a full traditional autopsy, investigators can use digital scans to look inside the body, see fractures, internal bleeding, or other signs of trauma without having to make any incisions. This approach is much faster, more accurate, and respects the body, which can be really important in cultures or religions where autopsies are discouraged. And since the results are digital, they can be saved, shared, or reanalyzed later. That makes it easier for experts from different places to review the same evidence and confirm findings. Next slide, please. Now, let's look at some of the main technologies being used. CT scans. These show detailed internal images and are great for spotting things like fractures or bullet parts. MRIs works better for soft tissues, so it's really useful for looking at brain or organ injuries. 3D reconstruction. This one is super cool because it lets experts build a 3D model of injuries or even recreate how something might have happened. It's also great for showing in court. It's visual and easy to understand. AI-driven image analysis, artificial intelligence can now scan hundreds of images and automatically detect signs of trauma or anomalies. And finally, virtual autopsy, also known as virtopsy. It's a completely non-invasive method where scanning and imaging replace cutting. All these technologies are changing the way forensic work is done, making it more precise, efficient, and often more respectful. Next slide. So, why does all this matter? First, these technologies make evidence more reliable and objective because it's digital. It can be checked again by the experts. Second, they are non-invasive, which respects cultural and religious beliefs, but still gives investigators the information they need. Third, it makes things clearer in court. Instead of just reading reports, judges and juries can actually see the visual proof, like 3D reconstructions of an injury, which can make a huge difference in understanding a case. And lastly, because everything is digital, it allows for international collaboration. Forensic experts from different countries can review the same scans and share insights easily. So overall, forensic imaging is helping making investigations faster, fairer, and more transparent. So now I'll hand it over to Ounda to talk about legal implications. Thank you.
Thank you, Sindhya. Okay, so we'll now be talking about what the pros and cons are in terms of the legal and ethical advantages of or legal ramifications of these imaging technologies. Now, the first of them is the fact that with these technologies, there's more reliable and clear evidence. Now, these advanced tools help to create very detailed and accurate visuals of injuries, fractures, or internal damage. And because they're digital, they can be reviewed multiple times and even checked by different experts. And so with this, there's a reduced chance of human error, and it makes the evidence more consistent and objective. Another important pro of these emerging technologies, as was earlier stated, is that with them we're able to do things like virtual autopsies, which allow the body to be examined without physically opening it. And this is, extremely valuable in societies or communities where um, exposing or invading the invading rather the body of a dead loved one is being opposed. And so it ensures that investigators can still meet the legal requirements of determining what the cause of death was, while also respecting the family's wishes and their cultural values. Um, Another pro of these technologies is that with them, we're able to produce high quality digital files that can be stored for a long time without losing accuracy. So in cases where these need to be used in courts, they can be reviewed by multiple experts and it can be used to support court testimony years later. And so with secure systems, investigators can show a clear digital trail proving the images were not altered or tampered with. And also, um, with emerging technologies, it makes for easier collaboration and more consistent practices. Now, again, because the evidence is digital, specialists from different regions or even countries can examine the same files and provide it to their expertise or experts. And this is especially helpful for rare or complex cases. It also supports a global consistency in how forensic imaging is interpreted and used, and of course, contributes to better standards and forensic practices worldwide. Now, what about the cons? What about the flip side of these technologies? Well, one of it is the risk of data privacy and security. Now, post-mortem scans could contain extremely sensitive information about a person's physical identity. And if these files are stored on weak systems or platforms that are not properly secured, they can be hacked, leaked, or accessed by unauthorized people. And this not only violates the ethical responsibilities, but can also break data protection laws. Another con about these technologies is that in different countries and even different forensic labs, some use their own scanning settings, storage methods, and interpretation approaches. And so, without a standardized rule, lawyers may challenge the validity of the scans by arguing that the methods used were inconsistent or not scientifically recognized. So, there is the case of or the possibility of lack of uniformed guidelines, which could weaken the strength of the evidence and create legal uncertainty. Um, Also, with the AI, there's the risk of algorithmic bias. So, because AI tools depend heavily on the data they were trained on, if the data set lacks diversity or contains errors, the AI can produce biased or misleading results. Now, another issue is that many AI systems cannot explain clearly how they reach the conclusion. So, if an expert could not defend or break down the AI's reasoning in court, a judge may see the evidence as being unreliable. So, this creates ethical concerns about the fairness and the legal concerns of transparency. And last but not least, in terms of the cons we'll be talking about today, is the limited training that there is in using these technologies. Now, forensic pathologists and radiologists often come from different backgrounds and may not fully be trained in each other's methods. So, without proper cross training, there is a high chance of misinterpretation of images, missing important details, or even misunderstanding the outputs of the AI. And so when these mistakes happen, it can not only damage the credibility of the forensic report, but it also opens the door to challenges in court and possibly potentially impact the outcome of a case. Now I'll hand up to Swathi, who will then take the next section of this presentation.
Thanks, Ovanda. Hi, everyone. So now let's go through the ethical challenges. As briefly described by Ovanda, some of these are already covered, but we will talk about the ethical and legal analysis mainly. So as we know, emerging tools like virtual autopsy, multi-detector, and CT and AI-assisted diagnostics are changing how forensic medicine is practiced. But with these benefits come serious ethical and legal concerns as well. One major issue is the data privacy. These technologies produce digital images of the deceased, and all those images aren't securely, if those images aren't securely stored or transmitted, they could be misused. So cyber security measures are very important when it comes to data protection and privacy. And the author also points that without standardized protocols, there's a real risk of privacy breaches and loss of public trust. And another challenge is the algorithmic bias. If these models are trained on limited data sets, they might misinterpret trauma or produce skewed results. This could affect marginalized populations and lead to unfair outcomes in forensic investigations. Uh, Next is the cultural sensitivity. That's also critical. In many communities, invasive autopsies are discouraged due to religious beliefs. Virtual autopsy offers a respectful alternative, allowing internal examinations without the dissection. Af- uh, it also helps forensic team work ethically while respecting cultural norms. And last but not the least, the transparency and consent. Legally, the admissibility of imaging evidence depends on having clear protocols and chains of custody. Courts needs to know that images that haven't been altered were handled by qualified professionals. Uh, Also, in the document, the author warns that without global standards, imaging results may be challenged in court. So legal frameworks must evolve alongside the technology. Uh, Also, implementing legal principles is important. Uh, as we discussed, the standardizing, there should be a proper standard to capture and store the image, and it should be uh, safeguarded or have proper access control when the images are stored in, say, cloud, etc., and should only be authorized for the legal. It should be authorized only to the legal users. And we already captured or talked about chain of custody previously, and also only qualified professionals should be allowed to work on the data sets that are being captured or trained to use, so that the sensitive data or PI data of the users or the consumers are not misused by hackers or anybody trying to get into the system. And most importantly, clearly legal frameworks with respect to documentation or privacy concerns, everything should be addressed accordingly. So next section is recommendation. Clearly, uh, as we have seen with the uh, pros and cons and the legal analysis. So I would recommend mainly four steps. So first is standardizing the protocols for forensic imaging. These should cover everything from image acquisition to courtroom presentation. And second, the institution should need to strengthen their data privacy. This means investing in secure infrastructure, encryption, and access control, as mentioned earlier, to protect sensitive postmortem data. Third, to reduce bias, AI models should be trained on diverse data sets and validated by forensic experts. This ensures fairness and accuracy in diagnostics. And next, we recommend interdisciplinary training. Radiologists, pathologists, and legal profession should collaborate more closely to improve understanding and communication. Finally, we encourage policy support for virtual autopsy, especially in regions where traditional autopsy face cultural resistance. Promoting non-invasive auto-imaging can improve global forensic collaboration and respect local values. So in summary, while these technologies offer exciting possibilities, they must be used responsibly. By addressing ethical concerns and strengthening legal frameworks, we can ensure that forensic imaging contributes meaningfully to justice. Now, Sindhuja will cover the conclusion part. Over to you, Sindhuja.
So, thank you, Swati. So, in conclusion, forensic imaging proves accuracy and efficiency and raises new ethical and legal questions. And it also balances innovation with responsibility, and it those collaborations ensures the justice. So, this would be the end of our presentation. Thank you.